Good evening, everyone. I realize a lot of people joining us aren't in Georgia either, but we are going to wait just a couple minutes, like usual, to make sure that everybody can join us. And just with that, I'll give it until 2 past, and then we'll get started. I think we can go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar. This is the fourth in a 5-part series. Once again, my name is Michael Ogia, and I will be your host throughout this series of webinars brought to you by the E-Commerce Association of Georgia, with thanks to the generous support of USAID, USAID's Economic Development, Governance, and Enterprise Growth Project, EDGE, the USAID ZIRDA activity in Georgia, and the USAID Economic Security Program. In today's webinar, we will talk about something you are all keen to learn more about, and that's logistics for cross-border e-commerce and success factors that go through, that help to go through from setup to the rapid sales growth. It will be held in English, but it's also being simultaneously translated into Russian. And you can select your preferred language by clicking on the globe icon at the bottom, on the bottom control bar of Zoom, and then selecting the language of your preference. The audio will also be simultaneously translated by our interpreter, Zura. Also, please make sure that you direct all messages in the chat box to panelists and attendees so that everyone can see it. And as a reminder, the next and last webinar is scheduled for this coming Tuesday, the 22nd, and will focus on after sales and customer service for cross-border e-commerce. Getting into the topic of today's discussion, as the Germany-based International Courier Service, DHL, has stressed, in an international environment, it can be difficult for sellers to fulfill their promise to customers of on-time delivery at a predictable cost. In large part, that's because customs regulations and processes worldwide were designed for large-scale, repetitive industrial shipments, not for small, unique orders that form the bulk of e-commerce transactions. Yet, fulfillment associated with high shipping costs and larger delivery times is an Achilles heel for all e-commerce merchants in the region. In this webinar, we have invited top-notch logistics professionals to answer your burning questions related to operational aspects of e-commerce in the EU and US markets, specifically to address the basics of selling online abroad, the roadmap to excellence in foreign markets, third-party logistics, which includes general services provided and how to recognize a true e-fulfillment company, in-house and outsourced fulfillment, and lastly, operational challenges and recommendations. In this evening's webinar, we are being joined by Rolando Casanova, a dynamic change leader, management consultant, and service supplier with 25 years of experience in international logistics. Rolando is the founder and managing director of Internel, and a true and highly innovative e-fulfillment company, MPL, with headquarters in Switzerland, distribution centers in Poland and Germany, as well as hubs in the Czech Republic, Belgium, Denmark, and Spain. Rolando has worked as an implementing consultant with more than 250 organizations within multiple industries across Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East to turn their supply chains into a competitive advantage. In the course of the webinar, Rolando will guide us through the entire process from cross-border business setup in the EU to rapid sales growth in the context of fulfillment. Then later in the evening, we're being joined by, oh my gosh, I always, but Josep Cantalaje, I hope I said it right this time. I got it right in practice. But Josep is the CEO of Boxset Georgia, a company with more than 6 years of experience in logistics and fulfillment services for international e-commerce. Boxset Georgia has been helping hundreds of micro and small businesses from Georgia to deliver their products to the customer, to US customers. So Josep will talk about challenges faced by e-commerce merchants across the region and existing solutions in the market. So please get your questions ready. Specifically, if you have questions about EU services, those can be directed toward Rolando. And if you have any questions regarding the US market, please address those to Josep. In the meantime, we're going to get started. We will also wrap things up with a live Q&A at the end of this. And just very lastly, before we hand the floor to Rolando, we want to remind you that as an attendee of this webinar, you will be able to watch and listen to the speakers, but as an attendee, you are not going to have control of your video and microphone. Please ask the questions in the Q&A section, which is located at the bottom of the Zoom screen. I will group them and address them to the speakers at the end of their presentation. Lastly, we'll also run a short poll before the end of the webinar. Please make sure to fill it in so we know how to better service you going forward. We're honored to welcome our first speaker today, Mr. Rolando Casanova. Rolando, you have 25 or 30 minutes and the floor is yours.
So I believe everyone can hear me. Michael, do you think people can hear me here?
Yes, hear you loud and clear.
All right. So anyway, good evening, anyone. Thanks for, I would say, spending the next 35 minutes of your and my life together with me to talk about how to expand businesses to Europe and to the US, online businesses as such. So the presentation is going to be calling with the right setup to rapid sales growth. And I trust that the audience which has listened to webinars before are all eager to expand to Europe and to make a lot of online sales. And here is a guy called Rolando. We've had the intro, and what we do is we do logistics. We do logistics in Europe, mainly, sometimes outside, for mainly non-European businesses. And here I am to probably calm you down a bit. Because I'm not going to discourage you, obviously, from doing online sales, but I would like to tell you a bit both sides, the success stories that can be made, but also the failures. And obviously the idea is that you learn from successes and you do not make mistakes that many other companies have done. We see that as a fulfiller, as a logistics company, because we have from 10 customers who start with us, 4 will not last for longer than a year. They give up. They have challenges. The products are not liked. The products are too expensive. The products may be too cheap even. And they will most likely, or at least 4 out of 10 will struggle with taxes and duties And we are going to talk about that. So I think to start with, there is a slide. I hope it's seen. And let's talk quickly about the challenges in cross-border. Obviously, I will bring you solutions also. And the challenges you can see as we see actually different perceptions. And if you look at the green part here, let's assume, I mean, you are mostly companies that want to enter to Europe or the US. Now think for a moment as you are a consumer or a customer in the European Union, in Europe, and you want to buy from abroad, even when it comes to European buying in the US, you will hesitate. You will likely buy in your own country or in your own region because you will hesitate for simple reasons. And you see the 5 points. Not sure if my mouse is seen, but you see 5 points here. One is a long delivery time. Within Europe, it's 24 hours, 2-3 days. Within the US, similarly, when it comes to international cross-border sales, it can be 8 to 12 days. If you source directly from Alibaba in China, you may end up with 3-4 weeks. Too long. It's an issue. Then, when you import from Europe, from another country, you will see that all of a sudden you may receive after 1 month, for example, in Switzerland, but also in Germany, a customs bill. Someone will charge you for VAT and duties, which you didn't expect because you bought online for 30 euros or 40 or 100, and you'll be turned off. Next thing is, and this is the reason why people hesitate to buy outside of Europe, is what do I do if I want to return the product, where I send it to? For 30 euros to Georgia, for 50 euros or 30 euros to Ukraine, it's a challenge. Finally, people are not sure. There is no local business. What if I'm unhappy? What if I want to complain? And what's my product guarantee really? Same story for companies like you who want to enter the US or the European Union. You mostly either ship as a drop or acting as a drop shipper, or you try to ship directly to the consumers. And you realize, at least in Europe, oh, there are different regions, there are different carriers. You cannot just make an agreement with one company and reach everyone unless you want to pay a fortune. You will see that there are 28 economies in Europe. And that means there are 28 different VAT rules you have to apply. And finally, I don't need to tell you, I think shipping to Europe or to the US, individual small parcels, as we've seen in the intro, is going to be very expensive. Last but not least, at least in the European Union, you will need to have a local website to talk to your customers in local language. And I think this is one of the main reasons we're going to see why a logistics company is an advantage. People in Europe, in the different regions, are totally different. They buy different, they want to pay different, they want to cash in different, they hate certain last mile carriers, and some they like. This is something mostly people outside of Europe don't know. So it is a fulfillment house or a logistics company to share that. Summarizing these challenges before we finally come to solutions is, times have changed. 5-6 years ago, one could start an online business and make millions in a year or two. Now, we see from the clients who are coming, you either have a great idea and a unique product, or you have you do have, I would say, a good plan. And this is what we are talking about, a good plan. And a good plan starts with questions. So who wants to expand outside of his or her home market? Who wants to overall go into the export business, conquer a new continent, conquer Europe, conquer the US, should ask a few basic questions, which you may, all of the people listening now, you may already know those questions or those answers. But I would like to show you in this short presentation why they matter with logistics, what it has to do. Question number one, what I want to sell. It's very simple. I mean, someone may want to sell something that we have tons of them in Europe or in the US. So why would the consumer in the US buy from an e-shop in Belarus or Azerbaijan or wherever? So what do you want to sell is very important to say, well, how you distinguish yourself. I mean, many people come to us, to Internal, and they say, Rolando, we'd like to sell with olive oil. I think there are about 500 online shops selling olive oil. What's the difference between the olive oil you sell? Oh, it's coming from a specific location. That's not the best answer. It needs to go deeper. We'll come to that. Where I want to sell. If you are selling on places like Amazon, you have to go to you have to follow certain guidelines, how to ship there, how to label your products. Or you may say, I'm going to sell directly through it to the customer by whatever, Shopify, Magento, WooCommerce. Or you may want to do both. And that matters when you look for your logistics setup. You will need to find someone who can either do either or can do all the shipping so that you can be the multi-channel vendor you like to be and have one company or two to do all your logistics. Finally, looking at Europe, which markets do you want to work first with? Many people, like US company, they will go first to the UK and Ireland because of the language barrier, which is not given. When you come from Georgia or Armenia, where are you going? Are you going to the market which is the biggest? Germany. Are you going to the market which is the second biggest and the most advanced, which is the UK, now in a big mess because of Brexit and no one knows what happens there next week? Or are you going to a specific market that likes your product, whatever it is what you want to sell? So these are questions that need to be asked before coming. Then obviously we have the different ways. How am I going to ship my orders? Directly, drop shipping, or I have someone, one company, more companies in Europe or in the US to serve my customer, which is the consumer. When we come to Europe, there is a last point here, and it is, how do you operate? How are you perceived from outside of Europe by the Europe consumer as a safe haven to buy from you? Are you a local company? Do you pay duties and taxes? How are you going to do that? So those are the questions that I hope even after the seminar, you may start to think what you really want to do. And to give you a bit of differences, you may have seen that also in other seminars. I'd like to quickly talk about marketplaces and platforms. Because very often we have clients who come to us or they ask for a quote and we will not quote. And we are not the only ones. We, by the way, for example, in Poland, where we have our distribution center, we have hundreds of forwarders, but only 12 companies who focus really on e-commerce. In Germany, where you have thousands of warehouse and forwarding companies, you have around 50, 60. We change a bit like the mushrooms. Some go bankrupt or grow. Some come, some merge. So there is only in a big country like Germany, 50, 60 companies that really focus truly on e-commerce. So which one are you going to pick? And that means pretty much where you are selling. Meaning, when you look at the marketplace, which example is obviously Amazon, Ali, eBay, whatever you like, you go and usually you compete with the world. You have a huge audience of people you can tackle. The whole of Europe is going to buy from you for sure. What you find there usually are mass goods or low cost or low margin. You have a lot of electronics there. And obviously the person who buys on Amazon will see on the checkout what's going to be on the 10 computers I have, the freight charges I'm charged, what's the service I'm given, how quick can I have it here? When you look at the sales platform and the direct sales, that means you will have for example, Shopify is one, or WooCommerce, you have a shop that targets directly people. You have to take money in your hand to go market by market, country by country, and usually you find their products which we call high-end, branded, or unique. So who has something very unique will have it easy to sell online, not necessarily only on Amazon. Who has a product that has a huge margin. I give you, for example, dietary supplements. They're produced for €5, they're sold for 50. These people have huge margins. Or you have a branded product, which obviously is all what is branded. Clothes, designer stuff is never going to be usually found on Amazon other than in outlets. So there is a decision where you go and where you sell. And that pretty much, and I think we'll go and have a quick look at the pros, you know, both have their, I would say their pros, both have the cons. When we look at logistics and you look at Amazon, one con obviously is that you will have to have a company, for example, or Allegro in Poland, that does a specific service to you for a specific marketplace, and the products need to look very specific. So you are not very flexible. Yeah. However, if you go and work with a sales platform, so you do not go on the big marketplaces. So again, WooCommerce, Magento, whatever it is, you will have challenges in the logistics to say, where am I starting? Because you will have to go with Amazon, you reach immediately most of the European countries with a Shopify or WooCommerce platform or whatever. you'll have to go market by market. You can have one for the whole of Europe, but physically, with the logistics, you'll have to go market by market. So this is going to be challenging. And the question then will obviously be make or buy. Do you source it out? Do you have your own? May you want to open something in Europe with the cost and the legislation you don't know? So I think those are, again, questions to be asked by any online retailer before coming. You may find a good mixture between the two, but it's going to be difficult. So mostly people or e-shops who are deciding to work with Amazon or AliExpress, in this case, or eBay or Allegro in Poland, they will work with forwarders, forwarding agency who can do the pallet shipments. Pallets made according to FBA, fulfillment by Amazon standard or Allegro standard, whereas people who will sell directly, they target customers directly through their own online stores, will tend to work with a third-party logistics company, with a fulfiller. Yeah? So this to give you a few, I would say, differences on how this goes. Now, I will try to start. I should encourage you to come to Europe, and I'm actually very happy if you will, because it's good to have more stores, but you need to also know of complications. And the complications are to be known because, again, they will decide who you're going to choose to work with, what's going to be your logistics partner. So you have different shipping methods. You have the direct shipping, which is something you may already do at the moment. You will sell through whatever, and you will try to ship individual parcels at quite high costs and long lead times to a consumer in the European Union. Important is the consumer may have to pay duties. May have to pay, today not, but for sure as of 1st of January, because the owner of the product, when you send it from outside Europe to a European customer, is going to be the customer. So he or she has to pay duties and VAT. So until now, you will see this in the implication, at least in the European Union, there is a lot of drop shipping going on. I would assume, we will see this in 2 weeks, a lot of it is going to be killed because the European Union realized over the last years that they are losing millions of tax money, because very often, it happened mainly from Asia, I would say outside online retailers would sell to consumers without VAT. Many parcels passing the customs not being detected, and that would mean theoretically even above 22 euros illegal behavior, but they could not grab those online stores. This is why, as of 1st of January next year, which is in 2 weeks, there is no more free limit to ship without duties and VAT overall to Europe. So that means anyone who would like to sell or to drop ship in Europe would have to register what is called MOSS, a MOS portal, more you can see online, to register and to advise what you are selling in Europe and to whom. And that is going to be a massive burden, and surely it's a step from the European Union to keep out or to eliminate some of the drop shipping and have it done locally. It doesn't matter through fulfillers or subsidiaries, to not lose the VAT, so that consumers buying from outside the Europe would have a benefit to buying from inside from Europe when they would have VAT. So these are, I think, important factors on the way when you decide, how am I going to ship products to Europe, yeah, to the US. And there is a third way, and that's the local shipping. And local shipping means also for you an implication. I mean, it is administration. You will need to understand what is meaning, what does it mean? And when you ship from abroad to the consumer, obviously, you are the owner of the goods until the consumer receives it through the customs agents or the courier and pays. When you do local shipping, means you need to be in Europe somehow. You are the owner, even if the goods are in Europe. And that is happening very often. I think we have on a day 1 or 2 inquiries from potential clients who call us or write us an email and say, can I have a quote? My business is in Ukraine. I would like to start shipping to customers in Germany. And we say, right, are you registered? No. And then we say you cannot do, and not with a local fulfiller. As soon as your products enter in a warehouse, the European Union, they need to be customs cleared and VAT needs to be paid by someone. And that someone needs to be you. So there is an implication in local shipment, and that would mean that any business from outside Europe will need to register in one of the member countries for VAT, and will need to register for what is called an EORI number, a number that identifies your shipments coming in the European Union, because someone will need to pay duties and import VAT. And if your business, for example, is in Ukraine, you will have no choice than to either open have a fiscal representative or an affiliate office, or work with a distributor who will really buy and sell from you, which means this company wants a margin and probably eats away your profits, whereas it would take the responsibility for you. And trust me, there's not many who want to do that. So mainly going to the European Union and going directly to the consumer would need a registration in any EU member countries. And for, I would say, classical non-EU companies, they would actually go to the UK before, because it's English speaking, you don't need a translator, it's pretty easy. For £1, you can register a limited company or a PLC. But because of Brexit, the UK is not an option anymore. So there is Ireland, there may be, I would say, some dodgy islands like Malta or Cyprus, which is also not the best from a consumer perspective, because the European consumer would like to see someone when they buy that is locally grabbable, and a European Union company, because of, I said it before, returns, because of guarantee, because of the language. So those are things that a company needs to know when they want to start selling in Europe and go directly to a company or work with a logistics company like us. They would need to fix themselves in the European Union. And now, to make it a bit more complicated, you will find more. I guess you can have this presentation after my talk, and you will find plenty of it on Europe EU or Europa EU. There are all the European rules. They're pretty easily described. So to work with a logistics company in Europe, you will have to define a place where VAT has to be registered. Giving you an example, there are 3 locations possible. And that would mean, obviously, for example, in Poland, you'll have to register in Polish language. There is no one I mean, there are people who do this in English for you, but all the forms are in English. So as an example, you may work with guys like us, we're in Poland. That means your products would need to come to Poland and they would need to register here for VAT. You would have a Polish VAT number to export, in brackets, to ship in the other European Union countries. Or you may opt to register a VAT where you do most sales, for example, Germany or France, if that's your market, or Spain. Or depending on where your goods pass, if your goods come by boat, for example, you may opt for the Netherlands, because they have a very attractive VAT and tax scheme. So all this is meant to tell you there are different rules, and it has a big impact for you with which company you work, where they are, and where you pay VAT. Yeah? And the last complication, because we come to solutions, is you have here a nice list, and you will see that within Europe, where we have 28 economies, we have 28 different so-called thresholds. Threshold is for small businesses. If in an annual sales, for example, if you look at this table here, if you do not ship more in a year than 100,000 euros of product sales price to German customers, you can work with one VAT number, the one you have originally registered to enter the European Union. As soon as you sell more, you will have to register in Germany. Once you reach the Czech Republic, the 1.1 million crown, which I think is around 50,000 euros, hard set, you will have to register in Czech and in Belgium and so on. And there you see something which is marked in yellow. When you enter the European Union, you should, or before, you should seek out to a tax and VAT specialist. Many people ask us, we help, we answer, but we are not a tax specialist. And very often we say, look, this is what we would do. This is what we know about VAT. You can register in Poland, no problem, etc. But we force them to see a consultant, because one is VAT, but the other thing is, where are you going to pay your taxes and import duties? So entering the European Union is a very complicated thing that needs to be solved. But when you're there, I'm sure fortune will wait. But that's something to bear in mind. Now, let's talk about Europe here, at least on this slide only. You will see here a map of Europe, and it's green and blue. And that doesn't say it's good or bad, but coming to Europe means let's now meet your consumers, the customers who buy from you. This is very important for you to determine in which country am I going to start selling, or which countries, or which area. If you look at the green markets, which is pretty much Germany, France, Benelux, Switzerland, Austria, UK, Ireland, and Scandinavia, you will see that it says country infrastructure is very good, whereas in others it's challenging. Infrastructure means roads, how to reach the consumer. When you look at the economy, obviously the green ones are more stable to reach, the blue ones are a bit more troublesome or not so developed yet. And you will see the different people in the different markets. Germans, as an example, they have a high purchase power, Swiss even more, whereas Polish, for example, don't have such a high one. And this is where you should have a look at the red market, because the different attitudes of the customer is giving you what they really want from you. And if you look at the green markets where it says the customer wants comfort, these are markets like the UK, for example. They will require a 24 hours delivery is not good enough. In the big cities, you want same days delivery. This is something that in Warsaw, except of some food companies, doesn't even exist yet. I mean, it does, but no one wants it. So in the blue market countries, we're not looking for this extreme speed. Yeah, we're looking for safety. We're happy the parcel comes in 24 or 48 hours and is intact. And I think for you of most interest as companies from outside of the European is the cross-border shopping. The green markets are very keen. German, English, even French, they start to buy outside of Europe. Whereas the blue ones, Spain, Italy, with my name, I mean, I am half Italian, I can say we're not so much outside of Italy. We're not even buying so much online anyway. So we're not so keen to buy from the UK or from Scandinavia. Yeah, and that means which markets are you going? A question I asked before, I think that's a crucial one for you to think. Is it the green one, or you have a specific product for Spain, for example? Quick thing, this is knowledge shared from a logistics company who should know when you work with a fulfiller, it doesn't need to be us, anyone else. You will need to get knowledge from them. A fulfiller has knowledge, and it should be the best interest of the fulfiller or the e-logistics company to share it with you, because the more you are successful in selling, the more also the logistics company will earn, which is pretty easy. So if you look at the payment methods again, green and blue markets, you will see that obviously in the green markets, everyone pays by credit cards. In Germany, they even pay against invoice. That's quite the reason for a lot of fraud there. The Germans are happy to get an invoice and pay in 30 days. Yeah? Think that would never happen in Poland. Things that where you either pay instantly, or we still have, for example, in Poland, we have a 30% COD rate, cash on delivery. In Greece, you will have 60% cash on delivery, which means if you don't offer cash on delivery locally, you're not going to sell really a lot. In Spain, 25% COD, whereas green markets, Scandinavia, 0%. It doesn't exist. No one wants to buy cash. So very often we have companies coming, they want to work with us, we're happy to welcome, and then they say, we want to sell COD in Belgium. And we say, sorry, there is no COD, no one wants this. Yeah, but we want to have the money immediately. But that's not what the customer wants. Get to know the customer and you will sell more. When we come to logistics, again, something to know, when you look at the green markets again, same day delivery, or the order today gets tomorrow. This is a standard that needs to be met. Otherwise, there are going to be bad ratings. When you look at the blue markets, for example, Poland, we do have 24 hours, but I think it's specific. Normally, you may have 2-3 days, or it is okay. Yeah. Next story is which company is liked by the customers to be shipping out the parcel. This is important when you come to Europe. When you ship from abroad, you often don't have a choice. You will take DHL, you will take UPS. When you are in Europe, you have a choice. I will give you an example of Germany. In Germany, 60% of the parcels are done by DHL. They're considered the best. I will leave it if they are the best. I may not think so, but this is that. So in Germany, if you want to be successful, you'll have to do that. In Poland, the best company, for example, is DPD, which is hated in Germany. If we would ship with DPD, which is much easier for us and even more beneficial for a financial point of view, to Germany, all our customers would get called, would get a 1-star ranking. Why you send us this worst company on the planet? Same as with GLS, for example. In Switzerland, or in the green markets, people don't like couriers anyway. They want the national post. The French want the French post. The Swiss want the Swiss post. The German want the Swiss post because that's DHL. These are things that the fulfiller will share with you, and ideally you get to know, because it already starts there. Someone goes on your online shop, chooses the shipping methods, and you will just give them the choice. Like I would give them the choice as an online vendor, DPD in Germany, they would go away. They want a choice, and they want to have what they believe is the best. So it's get to know. Finally, again, the regions, the differences here is in the green economies, the advanced one, usually people want it at home, mail, post office, and they don't want to have anything to do with you really. They want to have an email or an SMS saying your parcel comes, and then you have to decide, okay, I want to have it, I want to deviate it to a parcel locker, I will give it to my neighbor, I will even ask them to place it somewhere in my house or in front of the door, because we trust each other. If you look at the blue things, it's totally different, because the infrastructure is not yet there. Couriers cannot reach the places very easy. The parcel lockers are good, or drop-off points, or shops, food stores, grocery stores. And if you look at the communication, I think this is most important. In Poland or in Spain, 2 examples, the courier, the customer expects the courier to call before arrival. So that means if I order in Poland a parcel, or in Spain, I want to see an SMS or an email that tomorrow my carrier is coming, and I would like to have a call 15 minutes before, half an hour. Are you there, sir? And then I will say, yes, I'm there. No, please give it to the security, etc. So these are, I would say, basic things, and quite a big of difference that someone who enters Europe with 28 EU economies would need to know. So that's us to share this with you. Now let's come to the short overview, what a logistics company will actually do, or a good logistics company should do. So we have standard services, and that doesn't really matter whether we make so-called fulfillment services for marketplaces or platform. A fulfillment house receives your products, stores it, and obviously when you have orders coming through your system, picks, packs, ships with the right carriers to your client, the consumer, and if the consumer is unhappy, we'll deal with the return. We'll organize a return coming back, we'll organize a return to be looked at, to be opened, to be inspected, and to book back. A real, you can see the title 3PL, e-fulfillment, e-logistics is pretty much the same. A real company will add more things on the service. You can see there's value added. You need to know that in some of the markets in Europe, it is a must to have a local leaflet or a product label. So very often you go to the supermarket and you find it overstocked with a local language. So English is not good enough. In some countries, English is good enough. For some products, English is good enough. For some not. For example, all dietary supplements, foodstuff, oil, dried fruits, it needs to be. A fulfiller will make kitting and sets for you, and the good fulfiller will have your packaging materials if you need it. Yeah, and as I said here, you see point number 3, he shares EU rights. You need to know when you come to the European Union, the customer has any right to return any order from you at any time without even giving you an argument or a reason within 14 days. He actually has 7 days, and 7 days is his argument to test it. So you need to accept any order. And very often with our customers, we have many US and I would say, non-EU clients, we have this discussion where we tell them, guys, you need to accept it. Otherwise, you will be sued. Your e-store has a high risk of going into tilt or being stopped. So these are things you need to know. And as I said before, the e-logistics partner will advise or should know that and help you on that. Yeah, there are some, they provide call center services, some make pictures of your products. I have it here, and as a personal feedback, I would say that's something, for example, we don't do, because call center chat is something that I personally perceive it should be done by the client, by you, because it's your core competence, how you deal with your customer. Yeah. Quick thing, when does outsourcing not make any sense? I think this is very important. This is to avoid that you're getting frustrated. If you are a business that starts with 50 orders a month and may think that this is good enough in half a year, you will not find a partner very easily. Because not that we are picky, a third-party logistics company will need to integrate you, will have an IT setup and people. And there is an unwritten rule which says if a shop, an online business, has less than 200 orders a month, it's hardly found any fulfiller, and the fulfillers will try anything not to take them because they are too small. This is something you could still do by yourself. Now, important is the 20 euros there. A fulfiller in Europe, it doesn't matter where they are, needs to make a living. So the freight will cost you 5 euros for a kilo. The fulfiller wants 1 or 2 euros. So here is already 7 euros. So if you're selling something that's 10 euros and you have a cost of 7 on top of it, you will soon realize you're not selling. You're not selling. It makes no economical sense. And that's the only way you will have then is either to go to guys like Allegro, Amazon to start to raise volume, or within 3, 5, 6 months to work with a third-party logistics company. So this is the sad truth. But that's the way it goes. Now, there is many logistics companies out there, and I think one part of the seminar is to find out who are the real ones, who is true, and who because e-commerce is sexy. Everyone wants to open an online shop. Everyone wants to make some money. So everyone in logistics calls themselves, yeah, we can do e-commerce logistics easily, no problem. We call them warehouse companies because they have a big warehouse. They will tell you I have 50,000 square meters empty. Yeah, and then you may have to think, why is it empty? Are you not so good that do not fill it? Because normally good fulfillers are always on the edge. They always expand. They will not have 100,000 square meters empty for you. So I think that, again, you can just focus on the red one. A true fulfillment company will want to talk with you about how many orders you make. Well, now, attention, orders you make which are shipped with DHL, DPD, GLS, whoever you want to ship it to. So actually, someone else makes some money, not only the fulfiller, but the fulfiller will try and have as many parcels shipped with you and keep low stocks. Whereas a warehouse company will say, there are also some out in Poland, Germany says, you need to store with me every month at least 100 pallets, 50 pallets. Because, and then you realize, where is the business focus of such company? It's on storing your products. But the truth of the online shops, as we know, is to have either no stocks, even the drop shipping philosophy says that, no stocks, low stocks, and the high turnover of orders. So sell a lot, don't store products, change your assortment if you need. So this is, I think, one of the, I would say, classical thing. And when you look at what we call here the order shipping, you will see that a true logistics company in e-commerce, obviously, if you accumulate 1 million parcels a year, you need to be having a great rate with all those DHL people or GLS or UPS. And that's something as a customer you should see. You should see prices in Europe. I'm always talking about 1 kgs. It's of somewhere, I would say, around 4, maximum 6, 7 euros, depending on the region. Very often, you will see prices of 8 euros, 9 euros. Germany is 6 euros, because the warehouse company will just add money or a margin on something, actually a service they don't provide. So this slide in principle should tell you, be aware of, as you can see here, I would say wrong friends. You want to come to Europe, you want to expand your e-shop, we're all your friends. Come to me, give me your products, and I will happily bill you an invoice. So please have careful when you look at the people you are talking to, what they offer. How easy is this offer you get? I'm a logistics man, and when we look at sometimes at competitive offers, and I don't understand myself after 20 minutes, what would I pay if I had 15,000 orders a year and I may have 20 pallets of products? If I don't know that within a short time, something is wrong. And that's something you may have to think of, is this going to be what you like? So that's a warning. And I hope that this slide will help you how to find the right partner. Now I have to check the time. I have the tendency to talk too much. I need to see if I do have some more time. I think not.
Rolando, I mean, if you want to go ahead and finish just this slide that you're on, because frankly, everything that you're discussing is so pertinent and so important.
I think I will try to be quicker, yes. This is a slide, I think it shows you some numbers. This is a classical case of a store. This is a UK, but it's the same as for outside Europe. When you come to Europe, and it's not because you work with Intinel, what you need to do is to go as quick as possible local. People like to buy local. They may like to buy from Georgia, Armenia, because they're exotic markets or the products, but people like to have someone they can grab here. And that shows you an order growth. This client, by the way, now August, we have made, I think, 5,500 orders in November, because he goes from country to country. He opens his sales platform. He hires people, a home office, so there is no staff remotely, to do the customer care, the chat in national language. He has a national return address for products, so he takes the fear out of the people. What if I don't like the product? And that gives the hint how to move. And this is a classical case. We have a dozen of these, and it's a pleasure to look at. Last slide is your checklist. Is your checklist that I highly recommend when you come to Europe, partially also to the US, what you should do. Let's quickly go through that. Task 1, as we said before, look at what you want to sell. It needs to be not what you like, what people like, who you sell. Yeah. Try to narrow it. Don't come as many companies. They come to us, Rolando, we will have 2,000 SKUs. And yes, and after half a year, you have no more money to store them with us. Go narrow. Have a few, test the markets, bring more. Second, obviously decide what you would like to do. You want to sell on a marketplace? Amazon, this is perfectly fine. Your product strategy needs to go. You want to go to the sales platform? Also fine. Then I think the most important, which country you want to go. Go country by country, take or region at least by region. Take the biggest sales possibility before, don't look at the language. 4 is specifically Europe, and please do that if you want to come or you're already there and you're not sure about all those VAT and taxes. Talk to someone who knows. They may charge you for something, they will not do it for free, but at least you are sure what you do. Only then, number 5, look for a logistics partner, because when you guys come to us or many potential leads, and we usually ask, we know that the customer has no clue, we're a bit bad because we're busy. We'll say, all right, go to a tax advisor, come back when you know what you want to do. So we will not be so keen to say, yeah, we're helping you with all these things. So you need to do some homework before. Finally, administration, you need a VAT and an import number. That means you need to register. And attention, number 7, you need a good partner to ship from your country to Europe. It's always cheaper to ship from your company, or sorry, from your country to Germany. It's always more expensive that the German organize a delivery from Ukraine to Germany. So you are the originator of the transport. You look for the carrier because it's 30% cheaper. And ideally, and not because I make publicity, you may choose not the cheapest option, but someone who clears for you. Everything sorted. Customs clearance is the worst in the European Union. You want to avoid that. So you may work with UPS, DHL. They cost more, but it's there. And number 8, and I think this is the entire stress here for the whole presentation, go local. Once you have your presence in Europe and you decided on the markets, your products should be local. Local labels, local leaflet, or offer possibly in local currency. You start with euros first, and you may run into more currencies. And have a perceived local customer care. You can hire people in your home country, even they speak perfectly German, English, Italian, French. French people don't like English. They would like to speak with a Frenchman. Huh? So you should do that, and the Italians as well. And return addresses. Have them, people, a fulfiller will organize you a national return address. If I order in Poland, I don't want to return to China. I will not. I want to return to Poland. I don't want to return to Germany. It'll cost me 10 euros. And payment methods. If the Greeks like COD because they like cash, all right, let's have it COD. If the Scandinavian don't want COD, recent discussions yesterday with a Bulgarian client in the European Union, I want to do COD. Don't do it. No one will order from you. So the quintessence is, even if you're an international online retailer, you come to Europe, go very quickly to local level. Last tip, Europeans, we like to pay more. So don't come cheap. You have a product, you bring it into Europe, and you think it's worth 15 euros, try to sell it at 20. Seriously, you may think the guy's crazy. Yeah, you need to make it something unique. If you have an exotic product, you can go higher, because if you sell nuts, we have 10,000 nuts, but if you sell the nuts from a specific area, from a specific tree, and you give me a German label and I'm the German guy, I will be pleased to pay it for you for 18 euros. I hope there is no German listening to that. But that's the way it goes. So I think I will not speak about that. You'll see it on the presentation. It says who we are, what we do, blah, blah, blah. That's it. Thank you very much for your time. Sorry for going above the time limit.
Rolando, I think I speak for everyone here when I say thank you so much for this. This was so insightful, so useful as well. I mean, as I told Archo, one of our participants in the chat, I'm learning just as much, of anything. I didn't want to cut you off. So thank you so much for this. Yes, many people are saying great presentation. So there was a couple questions in the chat. Real quick, let's try to get to these, and then we'll move to Josip, because I think it would be really good as well to spend some time just kind of engaging a bit with you, Rolando, and you, Josip, together. But very quickly, Ketty asks a very good question. And she says, do you need to register the company in every European country if you want to sell the product? Or let's say she registers a company in Poland, can she sell within Europe?
Yes, you can. It's easy. You will need to register, definitely. I mean, you will need to register for a VAT, and best is for a company in one country only. And once you have avoided the UK, because we know about Brexit, but once you have found your country, you can sell within the whole European Union, sorry. That's to clear that. Yes.
Thank you very much. Let me, there's one more. Oh, yes. Anna asks, can you avoid registration of the company in the EU and apply for a non-resident VAT and EORI number instead?
You can. You can. People do that. The challenge here, and this is what I said in the people in Europe, even myself, when I'm going online, I'm checking who is the company behind. And if I then find a funny place which is not grabbable, there is a slight chance that I will not make it more than to the shopping cart and I will abandon it. But you can,
Very, very good. Thank you. And I mean, that's all of the and then we have one last question. Someone, Azar, he's asking, can we expect a fall in international shipping costs?
No, the opposite. We have, if you work with a fulfiller that grows, and we all grow, you should actually expect a fall. But what happened this year is Corona, and Corona is just an excuse. Frankly speaking, at the moment, this is a truth. In the past, a courier company could deliver 5 to 7 parcels an hour. Now, because of coronavirus, only 3, because people try to avoid, people deviate, they are not at home. So there is a higher cost. And I would assume what we see that this will probably be worth 2–3%, but all the shipping charges, and you will see that it happens already now, will surely go up 5 to 10% next year, early next year, January, or even DHL did it, everyone does it. And I'm thinking it's taking a bit advantage on the situation, because that's a great chance, Corona, to increase a bit more, make a bit more money. So sorry, freight charges are expected to go up.
Rolando, thank you so much. Ketty is actually asking again in the chat if you'll be able to share the contact information from the slide. However, I'm fairly certain, attendees, that Miriam and Georgi will be sharing this information in a follow-up email to you. So don't worry, Keti, you will get this information. So with that said, once again, Rolando, thank you so much. Josep, I think it's time we can go ahead and move to you. And everyone, really, Rolando gave you a lot of good information about how to, what to do, kind of really a step-by-step, how to get through this. Now we turn to someone who is really dealing with this very similar situation, dealing with understanding the Georgian market, for instance, but also the European market. And then now, Josip, you're also working especially in the US market. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Right.
First of all, my warm greetings to everyone that is attending the webinar this evening. And Rolando, of course, many thanks to you for such an interesting and useful presentation that could be really good for the people that attended the webinar. Okay, I'm actually ready for the questions. If there are any, I would be glad to answer.
Yes, one thing I forgot to mention, Josip, earlier is that the way that we do this is generally more of an interview type format. But of course, I really invite, especially given everything that you've heard so far, and I know everyone in the chat, or everybody attending, I know that your logistics are a very big question for you. So if you have any questions, please raise them. In the meantime, Josip, we have a big question that we want to ask you. You have been helping hundreds of micro, small, and medium-sized businesses from the Eastern Partnership region, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Belarus, Moldova, Georgia, and Ukraine. And especially Georgia, though, to reach the US market and deliver their products to customers in the most cost-effective manner. Can you share a bit more about what are the main challenges that especially micro, small, and medium-sized businesses face when they expand to foreign markets?
Yes, of course, I will. However, before I answer directly to your question, perhaps it will be useful for the audience to hear a few words actually. Who is Boxed, what we are doing, and where we are doing all the stuff, right? I will try to cut everything short and tell that Boxed is a part of international logistics group that has been operating on the market for more than 7 years already. We started from Ukraine and about a year ago, we joined Georgia and opened our branch in Georgia. We actually offer several kind of services to our clients. All of them are connected with logistics, of course, and these are, for instance, transporting individual packages from Georgia to USA and Canada, and not only there, but we also cover some other countries from USA. And this service is good for the ones that just sell something that is produced upon an order and they don't have any stocks to use any kind of fulfillment warehouses. So they just send them from Georgia. The second thing is that we organize international freight delivery from Georgia, Ukraine, from China to USA, Europe, etc. for e-commerce needs, of course. And finally, of course, we offer some kind of fulfillment services. We have got our own warehouse in China as well as in the United States, and we offer FBA prep center services and FBM services to our clients. To tell a few words what these services mean and how they could be useful for e-commerce sellers. As for FBA Prep Center, perhaps everyone who is selling on Amazon knows that especially recently it has become harder and harder to fully bring stock into the Amazon warehouse. That's why prep centers are needed in order to stock goods for some time and prepare them to be sent to Amazon warehouse upon request, and of course to process returns as well that are then upwards prepared and sent to Amazon, sent back to Amazon to be sold again. As for FBM, this service is for the sellers that use any other platforms like eBay, Shopify, Etsy, etc. And we integrate with API with all of them, receive orders automatically, and send goods to the buyers as soon as the order comes to our warehouse. This is in short what we are doing. And yeah, as for your answer to your question, I'm proud to tell that during the last year since we entered Georgian market, we helped quite many sellers to deliver their goods to their owners, especially in the United States, because before 1 year, logistics was one of the biggest challenge for Georgians, because it was, first of all, very expensive, and like Rolando told during his presentation, there is no sense in selling goods for $10 and spending 10 or even more dollars for logistics, right, to deliver it to the owner. It is the same as to work in minus. So we tried our best to offer cheap and fast delivery of goods from Georgia to the destination country, namely to the USA. In the nearest future, by the way, we will do it in Europe as well, and the rest of the world as well. We're working on it. Actually, as for the other countries that we operate in at the moment, I can tell that we now cover Ukraine as well. And the challenges in Ukraine are and were less serious than in Georgia, because such small countries like Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, they will have got big issues with international logistics.
No, thank you so much, Josip. And I guess a good way to deal with this as well is that many of the people that we've been speaking to, that, or rather over the past few webinars, we've had people asking about, for instance, dealing with cross-border banking as it relates to logistics and to the things, into platforms and whatnot. So for instance, Anna has a good question. Amazon.Germany would not accept a Georgian bank account for receiving funds from Amazon. Is there a platform that can be used as an intermediary similar to Payoneer that can be used for Amazon? And before you answer this question, and to you as well, Rolando, just in general, you know, have you faced any big challenges as it relates to banking and basically receiving payments as they come in?
Yeah, actually, as for the payment systems, to work with Amazon in Germany is not an exception. Amazon in the United States does not accept Georgian bank accounts as well to transfer funds. And that's why actually the best option at the moment that I know and that our clients, majority of them, is using actually is Payoneer. And I can't really recommend the better option than Payoneer is. So till now, my recommendation will be to stay with Payoneer.
Thank you. Do you have any specific questions for Rolando, or Rolando, do you have any for Josip? We're getting a few more in the Q&A, and I also definitely encourage everyone to put questions in the Q&A for these two excellent guests of ours. David is asking Josip if your company offers clearance services in the US, for instance.
Yeah, for sure. If we are taking freight from Georgia or elsewhere from China to the USA, we we cover all the procedures, including customs clearance and door-to-door delivery. So either we can deliver to Amazon warehouse or any private address to the USA, or to our warehouse and fulfill it from there afterwards.
And someone else is asking, and we've had a similar question like this in a previous webinar, but from your experience, Josip, have you ever shipped and stored wine, let's say Georgian wine or Armenian wine, or trying to get to the US? There's a lot of restrictions, a lot of red tape. Have you ever gone through that process of shipping wine or storing wine?
Actually, we have not had the practice of shipping, because the import of wine into the United States is quite complicated process that actually our brokers can handle. But importers themselves, the sellers, will need to have quite many licenses, and we'll have to have some partnerships with local companies in the United States that have licenses to sell this product, and etc., etc. That's why actually we are ready to give all the information to interested people how they could handle all this stuff, but unfortunately there has not been any company that really made this step and transported goods using our service.
So two quick questions. One is because we were asking you before about Payoneer, and someone has a follow-up question about whether or not Amazon Germany accepts Payoneer platform for payments, which I assume the question is yes.
Yeah.
Or
Payoneer
sorry, the answer is yes.
Payoneer is okay for Amazon in Germany as well as the United States.
Great. And one other that we had was, is there any way to keep money received in the marketplace country, such as in the USA? And Azar, please help me clarify this question, because I'm not quite sure what you mean. As in, I'm not sure if Azar's asking, maybe they're asking, do you have to keep the money in the United States, for instance, or is it okay if they're selling in the US, can they, they can get paid directly to their, for instance, Georgian account or their Ukrainian account, for instance? Do you know that process, Josip?
Yeah, of course, we know that process because our clients are selling, and we have to study every step in order to consult them if they need consultation. If we speak about Amazon, the answer is that no one can receive payments to Georgian bank account. That's why they should use, for instance, Payoneer, and if needed, then from Payoneer transfer funds to Georgia. There is no need to keep funds in USA or on Payoneer forever, of course. If we speak about some other platforms like eBay, for instance, about Etsy, etc., where people will often sell their goods, there is another option for Georgia. For instance, they can use PayPal that can be linked with eBay or Etsy, and from the PayPal, they can just spend this money or just transfer to the bank account in Georgia as well. The third option, of course, is to establish a company in the United States and receive all the income on the bank account in the United States, and then do give dividends, and then transfer these funds to local countries or just spend within the United States.
Azar just clarified as well. He says, I mean, I can keep the money in the US and source products from China and then send the money to China from the US. Does that make sense? Are you following?
Yeah, of course. One can transfer funds to China from Payoneer account as well to order and buy some goods without any issues.
Thank you. One question somebody asked in the chat, David asked in the chat, very good question. Let's say he's making a handmade knife. Can he actually send a handmade knife from Georgia to the US, or can they sell those kinds of products cross-border?
It's quite a good question, by the way, because we have got quite many requests of sending handmade knives from Georgia to the United States. However, this is a kind of good that is forbidden for international transportation as a postal package, because it is considered to be a weapon, right? So as a postal package, no, there is no way to be sent. As a freight that will consist of a number of knives, it is possible. However, it will need certain licenses in order to leave Georgia and in order to enter the United States.
Thank you. Very last question that we have here and is from Ucha. And Ucha is asking, is it worthwhile to sell directly to customers in the US using easyexpress.com? I mean, how costly is the delivery, is what he's asking.
Perhaps he wanted to ask about Boxit. EasyExpress, one of the companies that is a member of our logistics group. However, EasyExpress is not doing logistics from Georgia. It is delivering parcels from the United States. As for Boxit, of course, one can sell goods from Georgia, and Boxit will organize every step in order to deliver these goods directly to the consumer. If the question's idea was what is better to sell from Georgia and send from Georgia to customer, or to store stuff to have a stock of goods in the United States, actually it depends what is the quantity of sales per month. It depends what is type of goods, and is not it made according to each order that client receives. If the quantity of orders is good, of course it's always better to have stock in the United States, because the delivery time is shorter, and this is a huge advantage when that makes customers do their decisions of buying a good from one or another seller.
Two more questions we just received. One from Maya. She's asking, do all goods, despite the costs or the weight of those goods, etc., do they need customs clearance in the US, correct? And because that's a fairly yes or no answer, could you maybe just explain how does one determine how to get customs clearance in the US?
Yeah, it is a very good question. Of course, everything that crosses the border of one or other country needs customs clearance, but another question is what needs to have duties paid and what is free of duties. If we speak about the United States, and if we speak about postal packages, the customs limit for United States is 800 USD, and the goods that are sent as postal packages and cost less than 800 USD, they don't need any duties to be paid. That's why our clients are free to sell, and it really rarely happens that the goods cost more than 800 USD. So it's okay.
Excellent. And Nicholas is asking, how do you operate only in the US? Do you forward goods to the UK as well?
If we speak about forwarding goods from our US warehouse, could we ask a bit more information? Do they mean forwarding goods from our US warehouse to the UK, or forwarding goods from Georgia or Ukraine to the UK?
From what I gather, and here we go. He's asking from China and Georgia. So I think, yeah, do you forward goods from China and Georgia directly to the US? Does it go through the UK, or do you also send both to the US and to the UK?
Okay. If we speak about postal packages, we send them to the USA currently, and through USA, we can deliver to the United Kingdom. This is the only way that we have for UK at the moment. However, in the nearest future, we are working on another solution. If we speak about freight, we deliver freight from China directly to the UK without USA.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I have one more question, and I'm sorry, Ucha, we literally just got one last question from Nino. I want to take this one. Your company is offering to clients inspection of goods in warehouses in China to check up on goods. Can you tell us a bit more about the service?
Sure. Now, first of all, I will tell a few words why this service actually is needed. Yeah, why the good needs inspection at all. The thing is that very often the goods that are produced in China, I don't know why it happens, but sometimes they are not good. Chinese producers sell one, but in reality, they produce another stuff. And if someone imports this stuff and puts to Amazon warehouse and starts selling, and the customers realize that this is not what they were ordering, then all the business just crashes. That's why we started to offer our clients inspection service that itself means that at our warehouse, prior to sending goods to destination country, our employees may open the boxes. They may observe what is inside. They can check if client demands, they can check each item. If client demands, they can check just several items from the box, and do whatever client wants us to do in order to make sure that the goods are okay to be sold.
Excellent. Josip, thank you so much. Rolando, thank you so much. I think this has been such a useful and helpful presentation. There are still questions coming in. We really appreciate it, everyone, that you're so engaged. We know that there are big questions, but we do encourage you to get in touch with Rolando and Josip directly if you have more questions that you have. And of course, as we have always we've mentioned before, our colleagues Mariam and Georgi from the E-commerce Association of Georgia will be putting together some of these questions as well. So just to close it all, I mean, this has been such a useful experience. Thank you for that. Thank you once again, Josip and Rolando. I would like to thank all of you, the attendees, for taking time out of your very busy late Thursday evening to be with us. And of course, I would like to thank the E-commerce Association of Georgia, our partners at USAID, our colleagues Panina and Georgi, Miriam and Georgi, for putting this together, and of course our translator Zura, who does a wonderful job. I would like to remind you that these webinars are brought to us by the E-commerce Association of Georgia and supported by USAID Edge, USAID ZIRDA, and the USAID Economic Security Program. This was the fourth of this series, and the webinar was recorded and will be uploaded on YouTube and shared on Facebook with Russian subtitles in the coming days. The next and final webinar is coming up on next Tuesday, the 22nd of December at 2100 Georgia time, which is UTC +4. And it will be dedicated to the after-sales after-sales, which is including customer service for cross-border e-commerce. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to the E-commerce Association of Georgia over email or via Facebook. And you can also reach them via the email address that I just put in the chat. With that said, we want to thank you all once again for this excellent presentation, for this excellent webinar. Thank you for your questions, and we look forward to hosting you in the next and final webinar of this series. Thank you so much once again, Josip and Rolando.
Thank you. Thank you.